Welcome to the Cemetery Gates podcast featuring Xander and Android virus. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Cemetery Gates podcast. I am Android Virus, aka Aaron, joined by my illustrious co-host, Mr. Xander Kane. How you doing, sir?
Doing fine and dandy on this cool Sunday morning in Atlanta. So,
is it cool?
It is. It's a bit brisk this morning. It's windy. Fall feels like fall finally. So.
Yeah, we're the same, man. We're the weather's changing here for sure. We're at a crisp 52.
We're in the 50s as well, but I'm not sure exactly where. Let's just say my little weather thing. Who knows? That's not the point. It's a nice morning.
It is. It's nice out. My wife's like, open the window.
Yeah, it's 55 here, if you must know. So
yes, there you have it then. Yeah, so what we're doing out there, guys, in the podcast world, switched it up a little bit this month. Our lives get busy, so we're not going to do the 31 Days of Horror. On our own, we're going to do as much as we can. I know, Mr. Xander Kane, you're going to do 31, but in your case, you're going to probably do 100.
I don't know. We'll see. It'll slow down next week, don't you worry. It always does.
Sure. Yeah, you're like, you just swing for the fences in that first week, and then you're just like,
Truth be told, not too many duds this first half. That's why it's been able to kind of power through, so that's a good thing.
Yeah.
It's when you hit those walls, man, those infamous walls of 1.5 and 2-star ratings.
We've had years where just 1, 2. God damn, is this going to get better? This is literally sucking the life out of me.
Right, I feel awful.
Yeah, for sure, man. Yeah, so we're doing stuff on our own, which is fine. Again, lives get really, really busy. I've got a lot going on from my end, and but it's cool though, man. I'm still glad we can do this in some way, shape, or form. So, what we're going to be doing this season, guys, is we're going to be doing, I guess, movies that deserve more love, movies that we really, really liked, and movies we really love. Yeah, I mean, just in general, like. We'll get into it when we start discussing them, but yeah, we just really wanted to focus on things that made us essentially really like horror. You know, we spent a lot of time on this show talking about the very subpar, and so we're bringing some stuff to the table that we probably wouldn't normally cover on the show in general. I know we do what we want, but these aren't things we would go back and cover in general. So we figured we'd give you guys some insight into what we like. That's not the normal garbage we watch on this show. So. Totally, man. So what have you, just a quick rundown, if you'd like, what have you been checking out?
So far, we have been just caught up on some independent stuff. The Pumpkin Man was a pretty cool little Halloween film from SRS Cinema. SRS Cinema, Scream Team Releasing, apologies. On there, watched an old flick from... presented by Robert Rodriguez called Curandero. That was pretty cool, but seemed to be a little more flashy editing, and it didn't really feel like a Rodriguez film or anything other than it was Hispanic people in it, and the music maybe, I guess. But he didn't have much to do with that. So, but really, everything's been pretty okay so far. The biggest standout for me, I would have to say, is No One Will Save You on Hulu. It's probably one of the best alien films we've gotten in a very, very long time. It is incredibly excellent. And I've made my way to the theater to see the new Exorcist and Pet Sematary. Exorcist was okay. Not Pet Sematary, I'm sorry, or not the theater to see Pet Sematary, but I saw Pet Sematary. It is streaming on Paramount Plus now, so you can watch that. And the new Pet Sematary was better than expected. So.
Really? Yeah, I've
it feels like a Pet Sematary. It feels like a Pet Sematary movie, and at times it doesn't. But I think that's actually a good thing for it. It does set itself, and I really like the storyline of talking about Judd, when he was younger. I think that's really great. And they've kind of left it open for more. So I'd totally check it out.
So it's kind of a callback to like what sounds like what they were explaining in the first Pet Cemetery and Judd's backstories and whatnot.
Yeah, you learn more about his father and his mother and kind of how it all happens, which I think is very interesting. And they did a great job casting. So I enjoyed it. Exorcist was okay. It was fine. Excited to see where it goes from here. I like how they took the story in this one toward the end and kind of steered it in another direction for the new trilogy.
Sure.
It's nothing underwhelming, but nothing overwhelming. So I gave, it's okay. It's better than I thought it would be. I thought it would be complete garbage. And everybody's going to dogpile on it because it's David Gordon Green. So.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I think about that last Halloween trilogy, and I really liked, I liked the first one, right? Of the trilogy. I like to be a contrarian to some people. Sometimes I'm like, every single one of them was good except for the last installment in the trilogy, which it wasn't. But anyways, in my opinion, but I liked that first one that they put out. I thought it was pretty good. And then it kind of fell off the rails for me personally, not to say that nobody else can't like it. And then, slightly interested in The Exorcist. Maybe I'll take my wife. I don't know. We're having a boring Sunday today. So we'll see what she wants to do.
Yeah. There's one really thing that really got me in Exorcist Believer that, I do not like the demon voices.
Okay.
And it almost took me out of the movie completely because there's some, I don't know. It just doesn't. I did not like it, but I try not to let that ruin the taste in my mouth too much. But it definitely stood out to me. I'll be interested to see if you agree that it's like, what the fuck?
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah. It sounds like AI demons, but it's not. It's like they did use voices, but they put these weird suppressors on them, and it sounds fucking awful.
I just wish they could have gotten some death metal vocalist or some black metal. Yeah.
Somebody.
Just do it, bro. There's a lot of you out there.
Exactly. That was my thing. You don't need to doctor it up with, whatever. You just find somebody and let them use that low guttural voice for you and dub it over. It's not that hard. Like
Chris, yeah. I'll tell you what. George Corpse Grinder Fisher is always available.
Is he really?
Cannibal Corpse. He will do it for you.
I'm sure he would, especially a horror movie of this magnitude. Come on, you could have had anybody you wanted.
Yeah. So, well, that's cool, man. I would say, and are you wrapped up with what you want to talk about as far as what you any other I guess any
there
other
is
thing
the
stuck
only
out
other
to you?
yeah the only other thing I would mention is there's I think it's from Argentina. I can't remember now. What the Waters Left Behind came out a few years ago. It's like a slasher film, a foreign slasher film that was pretty good. Well, the sequel came out this year, and it's pretty good follow up to it. So if you liked What the Waters Left Behind, What the Waters Left Behind Scars is also worth a watch. Kind of one of those more unknown slasher films that doesn't get talked about too much. While it does a lot of the same old tropes that we're used to, it does have some pretty violent deaths in it. So.
Well, there you go, man.
We're checking out if you love slashers. So
yeah, other than the movies that we watched for this, because I know you picked a couple that I'd never seen, which I was very thankful for. Really, just kind of doing a lot of older things, stuff that we did Trick or Treat 1986 on the big screen last night, which is really cool. And I guess I could speak for 50%, maybe 60% of the audience there that had never even seen the movie, which is really cool. So, so by proxy, I got to show a movie that, I don't know how many people got to see a movie that had never seen it before. So that was really neat. But yeah, I've been kind of catching up on a lot of like ghost documentaries. Recently watched a werewolf documentary.
Which one? There's a couple. There's one called Dogman's Triangle I want to watch.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
And then I just saw another one. There's been a big unload of Bigfoot content lately.
There has been.
There's like a docudrama called Bigfoot Trap, or that was more of a movie, I think. One called. There's a ton of Bigfoot stuff coming out, and most of it actually looks good. So I'm very shocked.
Yeah, they're all really decent. I caught one yesterday. Me and my wife were checking it out. It's called Werewolves Unearthed. So you can find that free on YouTube, but it's on another streaming service. I think it
Probably
might be
TV.
Paramount. It might be Paramount Plus. I'm not sure. So that was pretty cool. I like that one because it kind of it didn't do the typical tropes that they'll go out into the forest and you hear a crack in the woods and what's that? It was really a really in-depth, I guess, documentary as far as talking to different people who kind of had the same accounts, and you could tell these people weren't actors.
Yeah.
Some of them you could tell that they're playing and faking, but these people are really genuine. And there's a pretty cool, funny one. I don't know if it's a funny one, but somebody did mention that that there's a kind of a turf war going on between dogmen / werewolves and Bigfoots. So that one was funny. I like that that they said that. That was cool. But yeah, just some really weird accounting of stuff. People saying that they've had real encounters with humans that claim to be werewolves and whatnot. It will say that I don't know if you remember this back in the day. I caught something else. I've been on this weird werewolf kick. Do you remember back in the day, and it was like 87, it was called Werewolf, the TV series, Werewolf the series?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that show, I remember, I loved it. I used to watch it here and there when I was a little kid, and it was back when Fox TV or the Fox channel was getting picked up, and you always had all the network TVs. You got your ABC, CBS, NBC, and Fox
Right.
was the new one that came out, right? Kind of broke, and they had always weird things on there, which I really liked. You get to see way back in the day, 21 Jump Street and all those shows that are made popular now. Married with Children, Cops. Well, they did, for everybody out there, they did a Werewolf the series. They were like one of the first channels to really take it off the beaten path with, showing horror. And I always, I'd always check out the show off and on. And somebody's thrown it up on YouTube, and I got to watch the pilot, which is an hour and a half. It was a 2-hour pilot. And it's pretty spooky, and it's pretty cool.
Nice.
Yeah, I would highly recommend that as well. And probably try to finish watching the series. So that's kind of what I've been watching lately, man. I know things have been really busy for me, and other than the movies that we checked out. Yeah. So, and I do got to give a little shout out again, a little pimping to Android Vision last night on the big screen. Went to the local Guild movie theater. That's why I got tired of my voice today. So we had a local metal / punk band open up, Visions of Death. And they were on the big screen, or they were playing on the stage in front of the big screen. I edited a 30-minute video for them, and I asked the singer Joan. I was like, "What do you want to do, Joan?" Joan's like, "Put the fucking goriest shit you could find in there." So I put street trash, clips of street trash, clips of, dude, everything you could think of, man. Like, just so much fun stuff. Ricky O
Nice.
did some Faces of Death stuff that were fake. You know what I mean? Because
Right.
that movie's fake. So just some really gory stuff, and they enjoyed the shit out of it. So, Slime City, you seen that one?
Slime City Massacre, Gregory Lamberson. Heck yeah.
Yeah, threw some of that in there. So people, like, after the movie, they're like, what were those movies? And it's like you got to kind of turn a lot of people on.
Yeah, Slime City slips under the radar a lot. Like, it's still not, I mean, it has some love out there, but it's still not widely, like, talked about. There's actually a sequel to it as well.
Yeah. So it was great, man. I wish one of these days you can come out and make it.
One day.
Yeah. Did some Pieces stuff too, which is great.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was really, really cool. So, yeah, man, I know we got a little bit of time left with you because you're a big star.
That's right. Always.
You're headed out.
I'm headed out, man.
Yeah. I do one thing before we start.
Go for it.
I need you to look at your Facebook Messenger.
Yeah, I just got a message. That's from you.
Yeah. And so that's Visions of Death on the stage last night.
Yeah. With Pieces?
See, I was going to say, what movie is that behind him? Trying to stump my co-host.
It's Pieces.
Yeah, you got it, man. So,
Zero time.
Yeah, I did all the clips from Pieces too last night. So that's what it looked like, just to give you a little bit of aesthetic. Yeah, it looks good though, right? It was a lot of fun. So Yeah, I hope somebody recorded the whole thing. I don't know if they did, but at least we
Yeah.
did some clips. So yeah, Pieces. It's no time, man. Not even a split second. What is this? Stumped Mr. Xander King. Pieces. It's like, God damn it. So maybe let's talk, if you don't mind. Let's talk about your stuff first, dude.
Sounds good, man.
Yeah. So we're gonna do the your first pick, the Last Will and Testament of Rose and Lee. Let's go ahead and listen to the trailer, and we'll be right back.
When communicating with the dead, it is not necessary to resort to elaborate techniques or obscure occult rituals. It is merely a matter of tuning ourselves to the right frequency. All that is required is a quiet place close to the deceased. Find a comfortable place and a relaxing position. Close your eyes. 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 Someone else is here. You know who it is.
All right. So you listened to the trailer of the Last Will and Testament of Rose and Lee. Let her rip, sir.
Nice. Yeah. So this is. Excuse me, my dog is being annoying.
Oh, that's okay. I heard they're clapping.
The ears clapping.
The ears clapping or the tail slapping on the ground.
Nope. And of course, she's getting riled up and ready to play. Cool. If you hear squeaky in a second, you'll know why. Anyways, The Last Will and Testament, Rosalind Lee. This came out in 2012. It's about a guy who inherits a house from his mother who he doesn't have a relationship with anymore. And he's also happens to be like an antiques collector. So when he gets to her house, he realizes that we realize she's passed on, and he realizes that she has this weird shrine to like a cult in her place. And it's just kind of him going through the house, seeing all the things, and he also winds up, he has some, mental hurdles with dealing with his childhood and his mother and all that stuff. So throughout the film, he winds up calling a therapist as he like starts to freaking out because he's like looking at all these things in the house. So of course, really spooky things start happening, things start moving. And what I do really like about this film is the narration part of it. So as he's like at the house, you hear his mother, and I think it's like the perfect voice casting for like, an elderly mom with like this kind of gentle tone, but also was somewhat intimidating at times when she would say certain things because you're like, it's a little morbid, right?
Yeah.
So that's what I really love, how this kind of layers that narration with the lead character, and there's really not a ton of dialogue with the exception of when he is speaking on the phone, with his therapist or whoever about coming to, or lawyer or whoever he's on the phone with. It's more so just him going through and dealing with all these moments in the house that are basically kind of reminding him of things from his childhood. And it's just really shot in an incredibly beautiful house. The setting is awesome. It is definitely low budget, and that's the one thing that is kind of a little bit of a hurdle for some people with this one. But, man, I think the story is done so well, and the way the narration works, even though it doesn't have all the bells and whistles, I think it is incredibly competently made, and it is an enjoyable watch for sure. So I really, 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 really like this one. So I wanted to bring it to the table, especially when I heard you hadn't seen it yet. And I was like, all right, we'll see what he thinks of.
Yeah, and I've always wanted to check this one out, and the reason why is, I mean, way back in the day, way back in the day, I'm a big fan of horror magazines, even though once they've gotten a little bit more mainstream, like, when you start to see the corporate branding on them or whatever, you know what I mean? Like, the covers are just having new stuff coming out, and they're kind of ditching the old things. Rue Morgue, was a huge fan of Rue Morgue back in the day, and this was made by the founder of Rue Morgue, Rodrigo Gudino.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that I really liked, and so I was always interested in this movie because, again, the Rue Morgue threw me into it. Yeah, and as far as like what you're talking about, this movie, I like, again, the creepy narration of the mom. and it's like in the form of a monologue to her son, which is really, really cool. And it just talks about her loneliness, and he gets some guilt related to that as well. Grief and all that fun stuff. But, it's all around a spooky movie. And you talked about the low budget aspect of it. And I really don't feel like it took away from that, because I feel like the good storyline overshadowed it.
Yeah.
I can look through that,
Yeah, you could definitely pick some things out. Just the way, like, there's certain times on the set it looks kind of more production-y, like a stage production time, which I think is just a
squeak squeak.
Yeah, it's a dog. I think that's just the way it happens to look. With like lower quality cameras, I think is probably the main thing that I noticed with this. Mm-hmm. Like it looked almost too clean sometimes. Like the tone, the lighting wasn't always perfect in there, but it was still good. Yeah,
no, man, I think so as well. I do think the movie was bleak in a good way, right? Not a bad way. And the dude's working through his shit, just like the mom tried to work through her shit. And I don't know if you saw that in the movie, but she's trying to work through her shit, couldn't do it. He's working through his shit, and he's just like, fuck it, I'm going to do this. So I was really happy for him. But, at the end, as he, does what he's got to do, and then you see that last of, her kind of staring sadly.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, she's stuck there in her grief forever. Or not forever, but you know what I mean? But I don't believe in forever. But he's like, I got to move on. I got to fucking sell all this shit. I got to do this. I can't fucking, I can't do this anymore. And her spirit is, they're stuck. And he's like, can't do this piece. So yeah, very bleak ending, a very bleak movie. I don't know for you, man, a little slow for me.
It is slow, but that's where I was kind of getting at. We were talking about like the lighting, like the tone is not as, it doesn't feel as dreary as it should. So I think that kind of affects the pacing a little bit just visually. But yeah, it's truth be told, it's not long. It's like less than an hour and a half long, so it's not long. It's just, I think it's one of those where you go through these gaps of dialogue, and if you're not visually entertained on screen, your mind tends to wander a bit. But
sure, yeah, I think so. I mean, you got to be engaged when watching this, completely engaged. So if anybody out there is not willing to be engaged on this movie. Or kind of it to me, it's like a kind of a kickback, like Sunday afternoon, Sunday morning movie would go really good with rain outside.
So, for sure.
Yeah. I mean, just to, some rain and maybe a popcorn or something like that, a cup of tea, cup of coffee, so
a warm tea.
There's a warm tea for you. But man, all around, man, what did you give this movie?
It's a 4 out of 5 for me. I've always been a fan of this one, even though it is a bit slow. Like I said, I feel like we don't get too many competently written like ghosty stories like this. That doesn't come off as cheesy or or just not good in general. But I just think it's a great little ghost movie that doesn't get enough love. I think it's good.
Awesome, man. I quite enjoyed it myself. I'll concur with you on that. But I'd give it a 3.5.
Yeah.
Again, you got to be in the right mood. If you're like looking to get into like crazy, gory, fucking weird shit, this isn't for you. It's just a part of the subgenre of horror that you may or may not like. So I quite enjoyed it though. So nice. Appreciate the turn on, sir.
There you go.
All right, man. Let's get into our next pick, which is what you did. Or what your pick was. It's going to be The Taking of Deborah Logan. So let's go ahead and listen to the trailer for that, and we'll be right back.
73 Apple, take 1, Mark.
The story of Alzheimer's is never about one person. My PhD I'm going to start again.
You want to keep the house, you need to sacrifice.
You talk to me about sacrifice?
Hey. Hi.
Ma!
They want to make a movie about me.
Yes, we will live and document our subjects' physical and mental degradation over the course of 2 one-month periods.
Want to have fun, right?
Yeah.
Okay, good. I'm not interested in being exploited.
Sarah mentioned that Deb's been sleepwalking pretty bad, so let's set up surveillance cams. He really gave us all quite a fright with your late-night gardening.
This is not normal sleepwalking. You should come see this. It's not good, Doc. Do you remember a man named Henri Desjardins? Went missing 30 years ago.
I tried to wash you in the river, you know.
A lot to become.
That woman is crazy.
The notion of spiritual parasites does exist.
Okay.
She's gonna die.
All right, guys, that was the trailer for The Taking of Deborah Logan, Mr. Xander Kane's second pick for a movie that we don't think, or he doesn't think deserves, or does deserve more love.
It does, yeah. Somebody did write an article on it, finally. I can't remember, like this past year about it, so it's not like out of nowhere. It is known about. But, I mean, it's 2014. It's almost 10 years old at this point. But Taking Deborah Logan is centered around Deborah Logan, who is a elderly woman who is struggling with Alzheimer's, and her daughter is her caregiver, and this whole thing is shot like a documentary. The idea behind it is these college kids are coming in to film this documentary about Alzheimer's. They're willing to compensate the daughter and the mother for, using their services. They want to basically just document Alzheimer's and like life as a caregiver. So and the daughter and Deborah Logan need they need some money, so they're going to take the money to do this. And there's some disagreements at the beginning, and what I think this movie really nails down is like all these little things that kind of happen off the camera. Like at the very beginning, the filmmakers are just kind of standing there, and then Deborah Logan and her daughter are like arguing about Deborah not wanting to do it anymore. She's like, I'm not doing it. But like it gives you like this fly on the wall perspective at the very beginning like that, and it keeps doing that throughout the film, which I think is an incredibly effective way to tell this story in this particular format. Absolutely wonderful. But as the movie goes on, obviously things get kicked up a notch as things are happening outside the norm of Alzheimer's. So not only do you have your normal Alzheimer's like mental breaks, like there's a scene in the kitchen where Deborah is convinced that someone took her spade, and it turns into her like pinning down one of the documentary filmmakers, and the dude's just like standing on the counter. He doesn't know what the hell to do because she's like coming at him screaming about taking the spade, and and it's just like a mental lapse of hers, and like it gets really, really intense the way it's shot there. You get kind of almost Henry Portrait of a Serial Killer vibes with the camera just kind of being jostled around or just kind of set down as you're kind of watching it all unfold. But again, one of the things that this film does so well is capture these moments off the camera. And in this particular scene is when you get all the infighting between the documentary crew. They're like, oh, fuck this. I did not sign up for this shit. And it's kind of off camera and you can hear it, but it's not crazy loud. You're still hearing Deborah Logan's daughter trying to comfort her on the floor, but you also get this little chaos behind the scenes. And the movie does this dance back and forth between moments like this throughout, which is one of the reasons I love it so much. And, we get a few more instances of Deborah Logan having these slips. They have some footage that they see where it appears that she just randomly is standing in the kitchen and all of a sudden she's standing on the counter. Right. With no time lapse to the camera. It's like she floated up to it. And
it's like a glitch. It's like the camera didn't glitch. Look, it's just like a complete a literal time jump, but in real time, you know?
Oh, yeah. And so, after a while, you're like, something else is going on with Deborah Logan, right? Because then you get scenes of her, randomly being naked playing with a switchboard, which is just like this creepy ass fucking scene. Then they find her outside, like digging up snakes and doing all this crazy shit. And the film is just like kind of the descent of how bad it gets for Deborah Logan. She eventually gets into the hospital and winds up kidnapping a little girl. And then the film really takes a turn in this particular point of at this particular point when the girl's kidnapped and they're trying to figure out where she is, and clearly there's something going on with Deborah Logan. I don't want to necessarily spoil the ending of this because I think it's absolutely fantastic, but I feel like you get a very satisfying ending, and it constantly has you on the edge of your seat, like just like what's going to happen next, because usually in the moments of calm on the film, like something is happening or something's about to happen, and you're just kind of always waiting for it.
Yeah.
So it's so incredibly effective in doing that. And this is always one of the films that I recommend to people. Like, hey, you want to watch something scary? This is always one of the top ones I send over. I was like, oh, okay. And like,
Totally.
I guess technically it is found footage, but like I dislike found footage genre more than any other genre. And this is one of my favorite movies, like top 25 of all time for me. I absolutely love this film. It is without a doubt a 5 out of 5 for me. I don't give those out very often, but this movie is just a damn masterpiece in my opinion.
Perfect, man. You're loving it. You loved it. Yeah, for me, man, went into this completely blind. I know that I'd seen the cover before, right? It's an ominous cover.
Yeah.
Want to preface this was when I was watching this movie, sitting in my bedroom, my wife went somewhere. She went to the gym, probably 8:00 at night, something like that. And I had my back window open, and I have no light pollution on the west side of where my house is. And kids went next door. Nobody was here, watching it by myself. Got the creeps, man. Got some creepy vibes. So, which is cool. You know, I love that. But
yeah, and also some of those times, like sometimes the sound editing is really great in this as well. So sometimes when you hear like little things in the background, other times it is dead ass quiet. It is so quiet. Like you can hear a pin drop, and it does a really great job of just it's just handled so well.
So I really enjoyed just kind of the way it was weaved together. Obviously, the mom and the daughter, she's really struggling with the fact that her mom has Alzheimer's, and they really that's where they kind of start the story off, is she's just doing these random weird things, and it's everything that all comes with Alzheimer's. So
they wind up going to the doctor and like, oh, we'll up her dose on this, we'll help her.
Yeah.
Because they're convinced she's just sleepwalking, but she's not just sleepwalking.
Yeah, and her drawing her pictures, and then of an ominous shadow coming closer and closer to the house, and everything just being outside, like maybe what a person who has dementia would be doing, or Alzheimer's would be doing, digging outside in their pajamas, but are they really doing that? I mean, they are obviously doing that, but is that where the intention is, right? And I like that they do kind of a callback to what happens in her earlier life and how it's affecting her now, but it has nothing to do with Alzheimer's.
Yeah.
That was really cool. Again, thought the makeup was amazing. With a lot of things, because there are some practical effects in this movie that I really liked, and I want to say, man, like the acting was really, really cool,
Absolutely.
especially by the daughter.
The daughter's great. The girl that plays Sarah, which is Anne Ramsey, I think. Yeah,
she did really, really good. I thought it. Go ahead.
And Jill Larson that does Deborah Logan, also through the roof amazing.
Sure. Yeah, definitely deserves more love.
Because she really has to like, she goes from very quiet, polite, lady to a fucking monster. Like it's just like, it's a crazy flip. It's a hard role to go that hard, and you don't see many actors, especially at her age, doing stuff like that. So it's awesome.
Sure. Yeah. And then also the fact that, again, not giving a whole lot away here because I don't want to give them any away. It's just, there's a past curse, and then they're uncovering a mystery as they're going. And I think it's really, really cool how they're doing that. And, I do like the fact that you don't you expect some of the people in the documentary crew or they want to paint to like be an asshole and sabotage things, but they never really went there with that, which I thought was refreshing, right? Because they did present a couple of characters in the documentary crew that you would want to hate, but you didn't really hate. I didn't really hate anybody in this movie, to be honest with you.
No.
You know, like
I think everybody had reasons to be the way that they were and getting
Yeah.
upset about things. I don't think any of it was unmerited. It was
double my pay.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're doubling my pay if I'm going to put up with this shit, you know. So yeah, I thought that was really funny. So I mean, again, I highly recommend this movie. What do you give it, man?
I give it 5 out of 5. It's one of the few 5 out of 5s I ever given out. So
Yeah, totally. Yeah, 5 out of 5 for me, man. As a matter of fact, I was watching it, and one of my sons came in. He goes, "Oh, you watching Taking Deborah Logan?" I was like, "Yeah." And he goes, "It's great, isn't it?" I was like, "Oh, you little shit, you're watching these movies now?" And he goes, and he starts naming down. He's all, "Oh, I think Rec 1 is my favorite found footage. Blair Witch is okay, you know." And he goes, "Oh," he's like, "But I can't believe Blair Witch scares you." So he's giving me shit. I was like, "Oh, so Noah is watching."
Like it was 20 years ago, Noah.
Yeah, he's before he was born. But Noah's watching fucking horror movies. He's going through his fucking phase, which is cool, man. He can speak to it.
Yeah.
So, which is really awesome. Yeah, man. 5 out of 5 for me too. Appreciate that. We're going to go ahead and move into my picks. And I basically did the Grindhouse movies. Not basically. I did the Grindhouse movies.
Basically, you did.
Yeah, the Rodriguez and Quentin Tarantino movies from 2007. It's a double feature, so I was like, okay, we'll do these a back-to-back double feature. So let's go ahead and talk about these movies. Let's go ahead and listen to the trailer for Grindhouse.
It was called The Grindhouse. Theaters that played back-to-back movies featuring uncensored sexuality and hardcore thrills. Now, Tarantino and Rodriguez are bringing The Grindhouse back with 2 explosive feature films. First,
they're stealing biochemical weapons.
When the laws of science are broken, the last hope for humanity rests in the hands of a few. Doc Block, his prescription, pain.
We're gonna lose the arm, Joe.
What do you mean lose arm? My arm?
Dakota, one hot mama who knows the score.
If anyone comes to the door, I want you to shoot them.
What if it's Dad?
Hello, baby.
Especially if it's your dad.
El Rey, cross him and it's lights out. And Cherry Darling.
I made you something.
She tastes like trouble. With an attitude to boot. In Robert Rodriguez, Planet Terror.
Then
Buckle up, because a new kind of terror is coming at 200 miles per hour.
Ladies, we're gonna have some fun. There are few things as fetching as a bruised ego on a beautiful angel.
Is that cowboy wisdom?
I'm not a cowboy, Pam. I'm a stuntman.
Quentin Tarantino's Death Proof.
This car is 100% death proof. Only to get the benefit of it, honey, you really need to be sitting in my seat.
Two adrenaline-fueled roller coasters. One ticket to ride. In 2.5 hours of pure dynamite. Planet Terror and Death Proof. Only at the Grindhouse.
All right, guys. So we are going to be reviewing Grindhouse. Thanks for listening to the trailer. I would say, a lofty goal. Try to do a new thing. So you get 2 genre filmmakers, Quentin Tarantino, who, goddamn, Quentin Tarantino, and Robert Rodriguez, goddamn, Robert Rodriguez. 2, I guess they would consider, quote unquote, rebel filmmakers back in the day that hit the mainstream pretty quick with their movies. Don't need to give an introduction to those guys but yeah, it's a double feature movie, man. So like when you watch it in its double feature form, this motherfucker was like 191 minutes. So It was a long one, and so gonna try to deep dive into this the best I can, guys. So you get where Robert Rodriguez and Quentin Tarantino wanted to create a really cool experience and an experiment. It was a third house to the Grindhouse films, and they would call it the Grindhouse films because they would play movies back to back. They grinded them together, the Grindhouse, and so a lot of movies on 42nd Street in New York, which was back in the day a real sleazy part of town, man. You got prostitution, drug dealing out in the open, porno stores, you name it. And then in the middle of it, you had 42nd Street movie theaters that would play really crappy movies. Not to mention across the United States, you had those double bills on drive-in movie theaters all everywhere, especially where I lived. I kind of can remember back to that where they would show a really cool movie and then either second run movie or a shitty movie. Man, I remember back in the day I watched Lawnmower Man, and goddamn, I don't remember the second movie that they put next to it, but
It's probably Ghost in the Machine.
something weird, dude. Yes, something weird next to Lawnmower Man, and I saw that at the drive-ins. But yeah, these guys had several kind of horror directors at the time, even themselves or Robert Rodriguez did a trailer, which all these movies some of them turned into movies. So you had different trailers, fake trailers open up for fake movies. Rob Zombie did like Werewolves of the SS. Edgar Wright did Don't, which was like kind of a throwback to like English type of weird horror from the 70s. And then you had
Amicus Hammer horror stuff.
Yeah, and then you had Eli Roth do Thanksgiving, which is coming out, which he finally got around to it. What fucking how many years later?
A lot.
Yeah, 15 years later, 16 years later.
Yeah, 15 years later it was made.
Fuck, I don't know. So he's actually putting out, which was, everybody loves that trailer, Grindhouse, or no, that trailer, Thanksgiving. And the Machete, man, Robert Rodriguez, that movie produced
two films.
Two films. Yeah.
Comic book, I believe.
Yeah. Fucking cool, man.
Too, yeah.
So, yeah, it basically, again, is a double feature, and you get Planet Terror. It's a horror comedy movie that Robert Rodriguez did. It's about a basically survivors of a zombie-like creatures. You're not your typical zombies. They're born with, but they're kind of smarter, but they're born with gas from the military, kind of like, like a trioxin type of deal from Return of the Living Dead. So we'll throw back to that. And dude, you got like a fucking cast of people, and some people are in both movies. Like Rose McGowan, she plays dual roles. And then Michael Biehn is in the first one as well, and he's also in the trailer for Thanksgiving. So they used a lot of the actors. Just go down the line. You got Kurt Russell, Rosario Dawson, Michael Parks.
Tarantino has a guest spot in both of them, I believe.
Yeah, Mary Elizabeth Winstead, Zoe Bell. It goes on and on and on. Fortunately, it didn't do too well at the box office, so that's why we never got to see more of this stuff. And it also sprung Hobo with the Shotgun, by the way. So it was a little contest that they're doing. Send in your shit fucking fake trailers, and dude made Hobo with the Shotgun, and he was able to make that movie for real because of this. So Planet Terror, guys, get into the first one. Basically, it's a small town in Texas, and you get like a horde of flesh-eating zombies. They go on the prowl, and then you kind of got a local dancer, Cherry,
Rose McGowan.
Yeah, Rose McGowan, and her Cherry, yeah, and then her ex-boyfriend, who has a weird, you don't know what his background's about. His name is Ray. And yeah, it's basically the movie starts out with, and then you have fucking, Jesus Christ, Josh Brolin.
Yeah, he plays the doctor, yeah.
Yeah, he plays the doctor, and you just kind of have the zombie outbreak, and fucking, God, who else? And I'm thinking, as I'm thinking about this, you get, what's his name? Tom Savini. You get so many. So you have this breakout happen, and people are starting to show up to the hospital. And as they're showing up to the hospital, they're getting sicker. But this disease is like pustulous, right? Like it's not even. It's really weird, and I don't know. And then you get backstories of the doctor that are kind of insinuated, but you're not going to get a complete backstory of the doctor and his wife. He's abusive. She's trying to leave him. And she escapes the hospital, which I thought the other doctor, Dr. Block, that escape is really weird, man. She breaks her hands.
Yeah, the breaking of the hands, that always stuck with me on this one. Because, of course, she's trying to escape. She's trying to unlock a car. She can't. She's trying to, she just can't do a lot of things.
Yeah, she can't do a lot of things. And then you kind of get like this sleazy bar type of thing, and you get Cherry's in there, and she's dancing, and Ray shows up, and she's like, why did you leave me? You know, all this shit. Her fucking leg gets severed, which is a really funny scene. They're in the hospital, and they're trying to escape, and he's all, we can go, we could do this, baby. And she gets a wooden peg leg. And she's just hobbling out of the hospital.
Yeah, it's really funny. Looks like she's skating on ice, essentially, because she can't really get her footing.
Yeah, she can't get her footing. And then you do get this backstory of military shit going on in that town. They're moving some stuff. And then we get the Bruce Willis, right?
Yeah.
And he's huffing on this, like, gas, but you don't know why.
Yeah, you don't know what the hell it is.
Right. You don't know what the hell the gas is. So you have this band of survivors, right? And they're like, we're trying to make it, and then you get the barbecue place with Jeff Fahey and Michael Biehn and their brothers. And that's a really spooky scene when the zombies are kind of coming up to the bar.
Yeah, because they're all it said pustulous, but they're also kind of like, they look like they're melting a lot of the time. Like they're so gooey. Yeah,
they're toxic zombies.
Yeah.
I would put it to you though. Yeah,
Looks
they're not
great.
really. Yeah, they're not really zombies that would raise from the dead, like the grave,
right?
Where you get like these dry ass fucking corpses. No, they're fucking shiny and slimy and gross, which is I really like the take on that. And no goddamn fucking expense was spared for this movie.
No,
of a $67 million budget. Come the fuck on, So there's a really cool scene where Tom Savini gets ripped in half by the zombies. Do you remember that part?
Mm-hmm. Oh yes,
just gets fucking pulled in half. Yeah, and so you're kind of following this it's band of survivors as all this shit is going on around the movie, and they're kind of giving everybody's a little bit of backstory, and they all kind of link up together. And they're going to the military base and figure out what's going on, and some people get captured and some don't, and then you have Rose McGowan's character and Dr. Block and I believe it's Jordan Ladd. They're together in the military base at the end, and then you have Quentin Tarantino's fucking rapey character, which he does so well.
Yes, some would say too well.
Yeah.
But I digress.
Yeah, I digress. We'll get into that a bit in the next movie as well. So kind of leading up towards the end, things kind of culminate, and you get some of the characters getting killed off, getting this and this happening. Quentin Tarantino dies a really cool death in that as well. And what we're finding is some of these guys are keeping themselves alive. They knew this happened. They've already been exposed, especially Bruce Willis's character at the end, to this fucking whatever that the military's created. So they're keeping themselves alive by breathing in this certain gas. You just get like your crazy fucking Robert Rodriguez insane action shit that, chopping up a bunch of zombies with the helicopter blade when you tip the helicopter forward while it's in air. Rose McGowan with her fucking machine gun leg. It's just like on the back of a motorcycle, And Dr. Block, which is funny, she's like a lesbian. That's where she's leaving her husband. And she jumps on the back of the motorcycle and she goes, I'm Cherry. And Dr. Block goes, I bet you are. So it's just, you got all this weird shit going on in the movie. But again, a lot of people survive. A lot of people don't. But the end, you kind of leave it up to they're kind of this cavalcade of survivors at the end. And the women are the ones that survive and they're running the shit,
Yeah.
Love the shit out of this movie. And then what do you think of this one? Because it's a double.
Yeah, no, I like this one actually a lot. I love how it is truly very grindhousey. Like there's a lot of silly subcontext and over the top ridiculous things that you really couldn't get away with in most films, but you can't get away with a grindhouse type film because that's just what's expected.
Sure.
So I think he really did nail down a lot of the specific Grindhouse things about it, and it's just a fun ride. It's silly. It's meant to be silly, right? It's meant to be over the top. Like, this is exactly what they wanted to make, and I feel like they did a pretty good job with it. And you can't beat the the zombies look awesome. There's some really great deaths. It's high marks for me. So on this one, Planet Terror is a 4 out of 5 for me.
Oh, it's only 4 out of 5.
Yeah, 4 out of 5, easy.
Yeah, I mean, I'll give a little bit of a backstory on these movies where they fall for me personally after I'm done. But yeah, 4 out of 5. I agree with you there. Then we get, if you watch this movie in the theaters, then you get the next bulk of fake trailers. We won't go over those, but those are really, really cool. And then you lead into Tarantino's movie, which he's kind of painted as one of those 1970s road horror films. Those, I don't know, really weird.
Women on the run, or women...
Yeah, like
banding together, and
it's just not just women on the run, but it's like that they even use a white car in the movie that they do a callback to Dirty Mary, Crazy Larry, and this is his love letter to the movies he kind of grew up on. You know, Race with the Devil. I think we covered that a couple years ago. So it's like these road horror movies that were really big in the 70s, or chase films, something weird. Yeah, but you kind of have this backstory of a bunch of girls hanging out, beautiful girls. And, you know, one of them's a DJ, one's a friend. They're getting ready to go out on a lake for the weekend. So you have just a group of really cute girls, I guess you could say. And then they have their typical dialogue with the Quentin Tarantino camera in the middle of the table as it moves around. And they just have their back and forth. It's very Tarantino-esque with the dialogue. And again, what they do is they set up one of the girls, or the DJ, and she says, hey, if you can find us out and about, and if, you know, I'm going to read this poem, and if you come up to our friend with us that reads the poem, she'll give you a lap dance. And she's like, you fucking bitch, why'd you do that to me? So they set her up. And, then they wind up at a bar. And then one of the best didn't we talk about like one of our favorite like eating parts in a movie a while back? Something like that?
We're talking about, what were we talking about? Best like use of meatloaf or something? Yeah, I can't remember what it was.
And my wife listened to the podcast, and she's like, you fucking forgot Kurt Russell eating nachos in Death Proof. I was all, fucking bitch, you called it. God damn. And there's this like an amazing soundtrack, by the way, as always. I actually have the vinyl soundtrack for this movie. It's really, really fucking good. And you just get, after these girls are bullshitting and talking and go and end up to drinking at another bar. Again, this is Austin. All this shit is filmed in Austin, just like the first one. You get Kurt Russell's character eating fucking nachos, and it's just those throwback 70s guys, stunt car guys, you know, stunt doubles, and he's that guy, right? That slicked hair that, you know, he's supposed to be like in the 90s or whatever, and he's still living the 70s, that hair. It's amazingly played by Kurt Russell. Got a silver jacket on that says white hot, you know, and good conversation between him and Rose McGowan, and she returns to this one as well. And again, more conversations, some insinuated backstories. The girls decide to leave, and stuntman Mike gives one of the chicks the goddamn fucking the poem. She has to give him a fucking lap dance, so she does.
Son of a.
Yeah, she's like,
I'm sure he's bummed.
He creeps me out. He's fine. And the girls leave to go to the lake. It's at night. And then he gives Rose McGowan's character a ride home. And she's like, that's a cool car. And he's like, it's a stunt car. And he's a little off. He's weird. He's a little off his kilter.
Yeah, he goes through spells where he's like kind of misogynistic and then kind of not. And then it's just an interesting character in general.
Yeah, and then gets mad.
Yeah.
He's like, it's a stuntman, Mike, you know.
Yeah, I feel like he took too many crashes in the car.
Right. But, you know, and again, I'm probably going to give some spoilers, so whatever, turn it off, you don't like it. But he kills Rose McGowan because he's got a stunt car, and it's protected, a.k.a. the name Death Proof. The car is fucking Death Proof. The car is as big of a villain in the movie as he is. And he kills Rose McGowan while driving her home by slamming on the brakes, driving crazy, because there's no seatbelt on the other side of the car, and that's where the camera would sit, you know, when they would do these scenes. So it's completely unsecure. It's not for a fucking human. Kills her, and then the girls just driving to the lake, all these beautiful girls, there's 4 of them in the car, and they're driving down a dark-ass road, probably going 75 miles an hour, enjoying life, the windows are open, music's blaring, and then he's just barreling straight to them, and then turns the lights on his car and fucking slams them.
T-bones them.
Kills everybody. Front end. So
Death-proof, though.
Death-proof car. And then, so wakes up in the hospital. They're all dead. He wakes up in the hospital the next day. And who do we see? Michael Park's character from Planet Terror.
Yeah.
You know, so this all happened before Planet Terror. I don't know. It's weird. Anyways, then you go into the next group of girls. Rose McGowan, Tracy Toms. Who else do we got? Mary Elizabeth Winstead, who's killing it in Ahsoka, by the way. And Zoe Bell, who goes by her real name, who is a stunt woman in a lot of Tarantino movies. So it kind of the same thing. Start stalking these girls a little bit, you know, same shit. But he doesn't know these girls are stunt women too.
Yeah.
So he gets his match, and they get a car. They want to test drive it, you know, from one of the old 70s movies, and they call it back, you know, to what that car is.
Yeah, it's the Vanishing Point car.
Yeah, the Vanishing Point car. And he's just stalking the shit out of these girls like he's in the other one. By the way, there's a scene where Mary Elizabeth Winstead's foot is out the window, and she's singing a song, and stuntman Mike goes and like tickles her foot, and she's like, "Oh, it must be a fly or bug," and then kind of creeps back. That was Tarantino.
Yeah,
fucking him. God damn this guy. So, yeah. So same shit. It turns into a crazy, awesome road chase at the end. Real fucking stunts. Zoe Bell's on the hood of the car, and they're going excessive fucking 90 miles an hour. Love the way they did it. It was amazing. And the girls were just doing this as a test to each other. She's like, I'm going to play masthead. And she's holding onto 2 pelts and driving the car.
The ship's mast is what she calls
Ship's mast, yeah, ship's mast. And he's just slamming the car, and she's like, fuck. You know, the way they did it was so fucking cool. Yeah. And then they catch up at the end, and he gets his just desserts. So fucking amazing. Total like I mean, as much shit as Tarantino did is a half misogynistic but feminist movie. So man, I am so hard pressed to see which one I like better. I want to say, dude, I do like Death Proof. It's not a straightforward horror movie. But man, I got to give that one 5 out of 5. I'm sorry. I got to give both of these. So
yeah, I don't, Death Proof for me is a little too long, as Scott Crawford would say, long in the tooth. Yeah, the beginning part, like I like the dialogue conversations and whatnot, but it takes a while to get going. Once it gets going, it's awesome. Kurt Russell's great in it. The girls are great in it. It's just a little too dialogue heavy for me on the front end, but I definitely love the whole kind of the car thing is fucking awesome, that we have a little death-proof car that this guy's kind of cruising through. But it is still a fun movie because it sits at like, what, almost 2 hours? It's quite long.
Yeah.
So it feels like it. But it's still fun. I'd still give it a 3.5 out of 5. I mean, that really gets saved by how good the second half of the film is.
Sure. Yeah. That's the fictitious, like, you know, and it for me, you got to consume this as a whole. And I know they've released these movies in their own right separately, both of them. There's a longer cut of Death Proof where there was some stuff that they added in there. And, you know, I think Planet Terror didn't, but it just has its own release. Great fucking movie, in my opinion. Again, super bomb at the box office, unfortunately.
And it had like great marketing too. Marketing was good. The posters were great. They did all these like events all over the place. It just, you know, that's where people weren't willing to go sit in the theater for 4 hours or whatever it is. Sure. You know, until they started making 4-hour Marvel movies and everybody wanted to do it. So whatever.
Yeah. Not me. I saw this 3 times in the theater.
I saw it once in the theater. First time seeing Death Proof since the theater, actually.
Yeah.
See Planet Terror.
They hold up okay, man. They really do.
Yeah, they do for sure.
Yeah. So again, this movie, I don't know, pretty impressionable on me. Actually, this is prefaced by when I just a year before joined Killer Reviews. So that's where we all met. So, I think this movie helped me kind of do the callback to the 70s movies that I missed, a lot of movies that I missed, a whole generation of movies that I missed, and really discovered a lot of stuff because of this movie. So I pay this movie a lot of respect because for a fan such as myself, it did open the door to some really obscure things that I would have never seen before.
Absolutely. And I will say with going back and redoing these Grindhouse films, it definitely gives a little push for me to want to do some more Grindhouse stuff. Not necessarily horror, because a lot of it's not in Grindhouse. It's just weird ass fucking movies, women in prison movies. I would love to do a couple women in prison movies, from the Grindhouse era. So I would say if you're up for it, I would definitely commit to doing a Grindhouse show every now and again.
Oh yeah.
Just to show some love to that era and just enjoy it. We'll do a back-to-back Grindhouse. We'll make our own. So I think that's something really cool that's going to come out of us rewatching this. So awesome.
Hell yeah, man! There you go, dude. It all full circle, sir. I did do on our other podcast introduce them to an old Grindhouse movie that I found, a blaxploitation movie called The Black Gestapo, and the Black Gestapo is so fucking cool. So I introduced it to Mr. Wildman Willis Wheeler and Nudie and the rest of the gang, and they're like, where have I been? And I'm like, God damn, dude, there's a fucking treasure box of these movies. You guys have clue.
Wait till we talk about Mr. No Legs.
Yeah, so many. So guys, there you have it. Our first Halloween episode. We hope you enjoyed it. We'll be back in about a week to review probably not a couple of movies, but one apiece that we really feel that deserves more love and more recognition. So, anything you got to say, Mr. Xander Kane?
No, thanks for coming for the ride, and we'll get back to doing 31 and 31 at another time. Just didn't feel up to the task this go around, and that's fine. So This is fun. I'm liking what we're doing, so you're just going to hear more films we love, so should be fun.
All right, guys, we'll see you on the flip. Happy Halloween. Stay safe out there, and we'll talk to you soon.
You've been listening to the Cemetery Gates podcast, featuring Android Virus and Xander Kane. Follow us on Twitter @AndroidVirus, @Xander_Kane, and @CemeteryGates66.